Welcome back to my series about moving abroad to Sweden. Today I will tell you about maybe the most important step, buying a house. But don't worry, this video is not only about numbers and contracts. It is about the feeling of finally coming home. Because before there was the search, the formalities, the key, signing the contracts, there was something else. A longing, a dream that started quietly, but one day held onto me and didn't let go. As long as I can remember, somewhere inside my head or my heart, I longed for a home of my own. The first time I realized that this home maybe wouldn't be in Germany, I was out in nature. I was very lucky to travel a lot during my childhood, and there I learned I feel most at home being simply in nature. And sometime around then, I can't even remember exactly when, I must have started to look and search for a place in nature that I could someday call my own. I realized that it didn't really matter what country that place was in. Borders didn't matter. Nature did. I realized that I felt specifically drawn to trees. Trees on the edges of a lake, of a river, trees above my head when I walked, trees all around me. The smell of pine needles, the rustles of leaves above me, that was home. So after finishing school, I figured that I had to start looking for a home where the big forests grow in the north in Canada or in Scandinavia. And a few years later, this image of a little Swedish cottage surrounded by trees appeared in my head every so often. And that's how my dream slowly shifted from a vague longing to a very real image of a red cottage in Sweden. This little Swedish cottage became a dream that was old and new at the same time. I could almost see the red paint glowing against this green forest. This filled a gap in my imagination of a dream life, and soon I knew this is what I wanted to live in. This is what I wanted to call home. Maybe you also have a picture like that in your mind, a place that feels like home, even if you've never lived there. It was fitting somehow that in Sweden's rural areas, buying is much more common than renting. So I knew from the beginning, if I wanted this dream, I had to go all in and buy a house in Sweden. I moved to Sweden temporarily to somewhat test how my dream would feel in real life. I had this very clear image in my mind of a wooden cottage, red or falunröd specifically, with white trims around windows and edges. And slowly this inner image grew bigger and bigger. Living here, I learned that I didn't really mind neighbors, but preferred not to see them from my house. I dreamt about trees that surrounded my garden, but sunlight on my doorstep. I wished for a larger plot, so I could be the one to decide to cut or not cut down plants and trees. I didn't need a big house. I needed a big piece of sky and trees around me. I knew that I wanted a house outside of towns and villages. And once I learned that in Sweden it was possible to just live on my own, I remember that it felt like a huge weight was lifted from my heart. Finally, I allowed myself to daydream about a freer life once again, as I had done as a little girl, because it seemed possible again. My mind filled with images of me stepping outside barefoot, running through the woods, collecting berries and mushrooms, riding on my own horse that I could see grazing from my window, swimming naked in cold lakes, experiencing snowy winters, starry nights, slow summer days. It felt like the grip around my shoulders finally loosened. But dreams alone, of course, don't really get you anywhere. Someday you must start moving, and the road leading there seldom is a straight one. So I started my search for real, with many questions still unanswered, full of insecurities about the risk of it all, but also full of excitement and hope. Starting to look for a house to buy in Sweden was as easy as picking up your phone and opening a website. I browsed on hemnet.se for hours and days, always sharpening and readjusting my inner image of what I was looking for. And I traveled up and down through Småland, looking at houses for sale, peeking through windows when no one was at home, going to open houses, walking through the surrounding landscapes to get a feel for the life I could lead there. The air still smelled so cold of damp earth and wood, and my heart was racing every time. But many houses weren't ideal, some didn't work at all. And some brought me dangerously close to settling for something I didn't want, just for the sake of finally owning a house here. I found the process of finding a house in Sweden straightforward. Though at first I remember I felt uneasy talking to realtors, calculating additional costs and handling the bidding process, but I learned that it is in the end simple. Sellers pay real estate agents to put their house online with the starting price. You can go to an open house and participate in an open bidding that can start much lower than the starting price. Usually the highest bidder gets offered to buy the house and can then handle everything with the realtor. No additional cost there and no notary involved. The realtor also helps with paying the land registry fee and the first annual property tax. So I knew how the process of buying a house in Sweden worked. I was looking at houses and traveling through the country, but I felt doubts slowly getting louder. I had this clear dream and I finally wanted to make it reality. But I had to be patient and not get discouraged when it didn't work right away. There were houses in very bad conditions, or close to noisy roads, or surrounded by other properties. Some were too small to actually live in, and the bidding often ended at triple the starting price. And sometimes my dream turned into this vision of me renovating desperately, knee-deep in costs, and not even as close to nature as I wanted to be. It turned into a nightmare of debt and broken houses. I tried bidding on a house close to Sweden's coast, but was very quickly outbid. And then my time in Sweden ended. I had to travel home and hadn't found a house yet, and was slowly losing grip on this clear image I had in my head of my dream life. But then it was the morning of traveling back to Germany. A new house for sale appeared on Hemnet, and it wasn't too far from where we were staying. So, ready to leave for Germany, my boyfriend Dan, my dog Simba, and I made one last stop at a house. That was this house. It sounds like a terrible cliché, but when I saw our house for the first time, it must have been like love at first sight. So much so that I tried to find the flaw, the hidden wrong in it all. We sneaked around the property, peeked through the windows. We walked in the forest on the other side of the road. And then in the car, headed back to Germany, I wrote an email to the realtor that we wanted to buy the house. There hadn't been an open house yet. The bidding hadn't started, but the sellers accepted our offer nonetheless. I don't know how we got so lucky.
Our hearts
The very first day in Germany, back from our month-long house hunting in Sweden, we agreed via email that we would buy the house and transferred the down payment of 10% of the buying price. And then we had to wait, being on tenterhooks for 1 month, until we were to meet with the realtor, sign the contract and then get the keys and move in. It all suddenly happened so fast and so slow at the same time. I remember the excitement and the joy and the nervousness that we were doing something wrong and that it all could actually happen. The day we were to sign the buying contract for our house in Sweden, Dan and I barely could talk to each other. We were saving each cent for our new house and had spent the night in a tent in Denmark to be in Sweden first thing in the morning. We drove to the house, took another long walk through the area, and I didn't dare to love it as much as I did. Then we were shown the house from the inside for the first time to get one last chance to say no. The sun was shining through the windows. It was warm inside. And the house with the old Swedish furniture that we got to keep looked and felt so cozy. I wanted to say yes, yes, 100 times yes. Just 1 hour after we saw the house from the inside, we bought it. My heart was racing like crazy, but the Swedish buying process is just so wonderfully simple. All we needed really was our passports. Since we were citizens of the EU, we didn't need to apply for anything. We signed a few documents, got the land registry on the way, and left the realtor's office with the certificate that this house was now ours. And with the bills we had to pay before finally getting the keys, the full price of the house and the fees to the Swedish state for registry and tax. On Friday, May the 13th, we were given the keys to our little Swedish cottage. And we moved in with everything that fit into our little car. This big copper beech behind the house had gotten leaves since we saw it last, and we were overwhelmed with the beauty and strangeness of it all. I remember that we had the weekend to settle in and then start work on Monday, and the realization that we lived in a foreign country now slowly trickled in. All that nature around really helped in the first few weeks. I was used to feeling at home in nature all my life. And it eased the shift to feeling at home in Sweden as well. When I walk through these rooms now, it is all me. But it wasn't like this from the start. I must admit that I never thought that I would like this rural, vintagey interior design, but a house in Sweden usually comes with the furniture inside. I remember that it all felt so old and strange at first, like it belonged to someone else in another time. But it is such a cozy design style, and it just fits the vibe of the house and this setting like a glove. I wouldn't change a thing now. The house has its very own personality and history and warmth, and I love that. I love all the quirks and differences to modern houses. I love the sound the floorboards make. The heating with fire and logs, the colorful tapestries, the Scandinavian fabrics, the smell of the old piano. I love that the windows let the tiniest bit of air into the house. I love the sound of the doors opening, the absolute silence outside. I love the sight of the 3 houses sitting together like old friends around a fire, the soft light of the lamps and the feel of all the wood inside and outside. This dream has come true. I live in nature, in Sweden's forests, in my very own house. Even here the day-to-day life isn't perfect, and every dream coming into reality brings challenges, I guess. But living in this house brought a surprise that I haven't really gotten over yet. Without really wanting to achieve quite that, I found my place in this world. I didn't know that that was a thing. But it happened, and this feeling helps me like a lifeboat during difficult times. Even now, when I hear the crackle of the fire or the silence of the forest at night, I know I am home. I carry this inside my heart now, that there is a place for me to be. I wish I could tell that to my younger self. I've had so many different dreams and so many didn't come true. I felt really lost sometimes, to be honest. And I wish that I had known then that this moving abroad to Sweden, to nature, to this house, that this would be waiting for me at the end of the road. That it wouldn't be that hard in the end, that following my dreams would lead me here. I, to this day, follow my dreams, even if they seem crazy, because I know that they sometimes really come true. Maybe you also carry a dream that feels very far away. Don't give up on it. Sometimes the road is longer, but it can still lead you home. I hope you have a wonderful day now, and thank you so much for watching. This was part 2 of my Moving Abroad series, and in part 3 I will talk about what came after moving in, how we started life in Sweden, because buying the house was only the beginning. The real adventure started once we moved in. I'll see you then.